And related to all this is that conversation. So how do we get the right professionals to be doing that? Not only on campus, but also, you know, using the platform we have, the AM show and the rest of the programming on the multimedia channels, and JoyNews specifically to complement the educational and the sensitization effort. Dr. Ruth Owusu-Entry is head of psychiatry, the Komfo Anoche Teaching Hospital. She's joining us. Good morning to you. Well dressed in face, but this one is N95.
Yeah, right. Good morning, Roland.
Good morning.
That's N95.
No, Charlie. You're well prepared.
I tell you.
Yeah, it's getting scary, but our preparation also then helps us being safe and everybody around us. But what would be your initial observations about what the conversation has been, how it has gone on until the better part of yesterday regarding the subject we're about to discuss?
Yeah, I think there is a lot of anxiety in the air, especially on the part of parents. As the cases in the secondary schools are rising, I see a possible surge as well in mental health conditions. And I am equally worried about the increased numbers in COVID, as well as a possible surge in mental health issues, especially among the kids and among their direct family members.
Before we get to that thorny issue about the children in school, generally, we have children who are in basic, and basic until we change the structure is up to JHS, or primary 6 now, and then we're changing it to JHS. And I have 2 young sons, so what usually are they experiencing within these times? Having been at home from March, I believe, up to now.
So I have said before that children's makeup and part of the things that support their growth is a structured kind of lifestyle. Children are nurtured and they mature both physically and mentally based on a structured kind of lifestyle. So children want to know that I wake up consistently at 6, I am at school at 8, my first lesson ends at 12, I go on break, come back, by this time I am home. That is a way, that kind of structured life supports the growth and the maturity of children in its totality. Now that that kind of structure has been taken out, it is impacting negatively on children. They now, most children do not even have any specific bedtime, because the following day they are actually not going to school, so they can't be bothered. That structured life of eating my lunch this time, doing my homework at this time have all been taken away. And so that is impacting negatively on their mental health as well. And that is why I commended schools that were starting online lessons and e-lessons, and even going a step further to say that when the children appear virtually, they should be in their school uniforms. You know, that brings them to a state of as much close to the real situation as much as possible. Those who do not have the benefit of internet and cannot join this, I can only imagine that those children by now are really, really stressed out. Being locked up in home, in quotes, not be able to go out and play football, play with their children. Play is part of their upbringing, is part of their growth, both mentally and physically. And so I can imagine that by now, many, many children are really stressed out. And they sit in the house and sometimes follow news on TV and radio, and they see the rising numbers. If parents do not handle this information and the rate of flow of information to them, that will further stress them and that will further heighten their anxiety. They must by now be also very confused about when they can go back to school and meet their friends and all that. And so it's really a difficult one. The issue is not just when we go to school or when we do not go to school, or we should close down the schools or not. I think that we should also focus on which of the scenarios.
Again, some difficulty in the lines there, but it will be re-established as much as possible. And Dr. Ruth Owusu-Antwi is the head of psychiatry for the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital. I'll run this by you, and this is on the website of UNICEF, and they have this very poignant point in there. It says, supporting your child's mental health as they return to school during COVID-19, how parents can help their children navigate their feelings during reopenings. And if you get to that site, you will also get to know that UNICEF indeed acknowledges, and with professionals like Dr. Ruth Owusu-Antwi, they get to know what the real difficulties are, what can be done to improve the current state of affairs, and then also what needs to be done to ensure that the children feel at home when it comes to how they navigate all aspects of life when we're talking about reopenings. Yeah, and if you go there, they indicate if you have questions like how your child is scared to go back to school, how can I find help for him or her and make him feel at ease? There are responses there on that site of the UNICEF. There's a UN Children's Fund, and then we have my child's school is recommending the wearing of protective clothing, which is making my child feel more nervous, etc. And Dr. Ruth Owusu-Antwi, you're back.
Yeah, Rilla.
Yeah. So this is where I lost you. After the stress out, then you indicated by now you can imagine what they are feeling, and you know the conversation about whether schools should reopen or be closed.
Yeah, so I was saying that our concern should now be, or the determining factor probably, to help us know when or whether it is right to open schools and what is the right timing or not, is to find out which of the scenarios affect the mental health of children the more, whether continuous stay at home or reopening of schools. It looks as if we are only concerned about the risk, which is the physical risk, and nobody is talking about the mental impact of all of this. And that's why I'm glad we are having this conversation, because whether they continue to stay at home as children, or whether they come back to school, they would be impacted. Their mental health will be impacted one way or the other. And so we should consider which of the cases or which of the scenarios would impact negatively to a greater degree the mental health of these children. Because if we have, at the end of the day, an educated group of young children who do not have good mental health, then we have another battle on our hand. And so we should, in the conversation about schools of children and reopening of schools and all that, also take into consideration their mental health.
Now, once that they are in school and the consideration for mental health is important, we do know that it's not usually a mainstay of the extracurricular actions of our educational structure. How do we start this conversation in the first place?
And so the first thing I would say is that mental health should actually be incorporated in the curriculum of students. It should probably be a core subject that every child in the school would take, such that children can identify early stages of mental distress in themselves and in their friends. They will know the channels with which they would use to get the right help. You know, especially when it comes to secondary school children, there is the high tendency of bullying in schools, teasing and all that. And so when a child or a friend is going through some form of distress, say anxiety, and is afraid to come out of the dormitory to the classroom, or is going through some form of obsessive compulsive disorder. I had one secondary school child who was obsessed with neatness, and you dare not touch her. And these her friends decided they would chance, or they would bank on that kind of disorder and make fun of her. They would come and touch her. She'll go back to the dormitory and go and take her bath all over again. Then when she's back to the classroom, somebody will make fun and go and touch her again. It kept going on until she would virtually miss the whole day's class. And so at that point, the colleagues, her children, the students did not know that was a treatable mental condition. And so it is about time we incorporated basic mental health education in general curriculum of students across board, right from primary school through to the universities. Now it's almost as if you're not doing, you don't end up doing medicine, you may never get to hear anything about mental health. Even in the medical school, probably from second year, you start doing some basic courses, and then latter part of your training, of your education, you get a few weeks of lessons or lectures in mental health. I think we should start way early, right in the primary school, and structure the education to their level. It would help a great deal. We do not know when this pandemic is ending, and so the earlier we start this, the better.
Okay, so these third years who are in school, you know, they had been under lockdown. Now they have transitioned from a situation of lock to a school setting, which is in a way also within a situation of some restrictions or lock. We're told that they'll have counselors and those things, but you know, the GES counseling, or the counseling that the teachers give, is not a clinical counseling. So how do we improve that? Or how do we relate that to the state of health of these children or students?
Yeah, there are actually several groups of counselors, and they are giving specific training. And so those who work in the schools, who have a psychology background, do educational psychology. And those who work in the clinical setting do clinical psychology and all that. And so if schools are not even using psychologists specifically, and they are using counselors, I think that it's even commendable. If they are registered counselors, then they would be able to do a good job at counseling these children. And that should not be bad at all. My only problem is whether all the schools have been given these counselors and have been given enough a number of counselors. If you look at the number of final years, third years, with some bit of second years who join them, we should be able to make the ratio such that counselors will be able to attend to a small number of students to be able to make the counseling more effective. If you have one counselor per a whole school, that would be a big drain on the individual, on the counselor. At the end of the day, his or her output will not be as effective as if they had more hand. If there are 5 counselors to every school, for instance, that will do for a good start. And there are many of these who have completed school and are waiting to be employed by the government. There are a lot of psychologists, there are a lot of people with mental health training background who are waiting to be employed. And so when it comes to the task force, I think we have enough hands to come on board, and the government should take advantage and employ these ones to work in these secondary schools.
Even me here, I can look at various indicators or various stakeholders in this. We have the students who will need some mental health assistance. We also do have the teachers in the schools who will need it. They themselves will need it. I'm estimating. Even the administrators who necessarily are not their teaching staff. And then the other staff in the schools as well. These groupings, what should be what? Who should get what?
And so, Roland, we should not leave any of these out. In fact, the services should extend to the parents of the children as well. Teachers should be involved, should benefit from counselors. Non-teaching staff or the admin staff in the schools should have access to the counselors. In fact, it should be a policy to provide on-site counselors or on-site mental health experts to provide employee-assisted programs. These are programs that will help deal with levels of stress, levels of anxiety, and we can't ask for this at any better time than this, when the pandemic is making a lot of people anxious. It should be a must, actually, for every institution, especially our education institutions, to have on-site experts, and these should be mental health experts to support every caliber of staff. And when I talk about the staff, I include the parents of the students as well. Children take a lot of cue from how adults handle situations. So I was watching a woman being interviewed, how she's gone back to the school to take her only child back home because she is afraid of the virus, of the child catching the virus. When her child sees the mother this desperate and this anxious and this scared, even if the child was calm inside the school, she will start becoming anxious because all of a sudden she will feel that there is a huge danger ahead of her, which will not help her in her coming exams. My recommendation is that we as adults, even though the situation is serious, is scary, adults are anxious, we should learn how to manage our own anxieties as adults, because our anxiety levels and how we exhibit them directly impact on the anxiety levels of these children. And of course, if we are all anxious, we are unable to take the right decisions. We will need to calm down, and that is why parents of these wards will also need some support from mental health experts and from counselors as well. How to handle their own anxieties, dialogue with the right institutions and the right organizations to make the right decisions. But in the midst of this hula baloo, nobody will be able to think straight. And so people should calm down. Nobody is able to beat any pandemic with anxiety and with fretting and with being afraid. In fact, when we are afraid and we are scared, our brains are unable to think well and take the right decisions. And so back to the point that every caliber of staff in the school should get some support, including the parents of these children should not be left out.
Oh, it's brilliantly. You've mentioned the parents. I even left them out. And before we came to you, to the stream, we played inserts of agitated parents of some of the students of the Accra Girls Senior High School. You know, they've been reading, listening in and watching that the media is reporting 55 positive cases in the school. They will not get the sort of focused mental health counseling, etc. that they need. Where do they get these?
Yes, Roland, I'm sure there are PTAs, Parent Teachers Association, and they should be able to take some of these things up. If the PTA would come together, and when I say come together, it's just to say, even if it is virtually, to come together and put up places where parents can get support. If there is an office in the school, or there is an office or a designated clinic close to the school where there is a trained mental health expert or there is a trained counselor, then parents of those schools could be directed there to get support if they are finding difficulties dealing with their own anxieties. And so PTAs should come into this matter. They should be involved in this matter so that parents would get the right help also at this time. Because I've said the levels of anxiety of parents would directly impact on the levels of anxiety of their kids. Again, the levels of anxiety of the teachers, the adults they see around will impact on their own anxieties. We know they are writing their exams soon, and if we don't step in quickly, I'm not sure the results we are going to get. Definitely, their results may be negatively impacted.
All right, so we're going to spend the next 5 minutes just waiting for your call. So we'll have the phone lines displayed, 030-2211-69102. Now, this is for everybody. If you are a guardian, you're a student yourself, or you have you're a parent, you have your child there, or you live in a community, you know a number of these students who are there, you have questions to be answered on the subject, not just general comments, please. Questions to Dr. Ruth Owusu-Antwi. Please make sure you call this line. two of them, 030-2211-691, and again 030-2211-692. Okay. Now our next conversation is on the registration, etc., your experiences, etc. We've put out on social media, etc., the Zoom meeting and the link, the ID as well. We will let you in after the next 5 minutes. So just make sure you stay in there. I know you're in the waiting room. But please, the phone lines are open. Ask Dr. Ruth Owusu-Antwi, who is the head of the psychiatry unit of the big hospital in the Ashanti region. The Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital has the best expertise. You're a parent, you need this sort of assistance, etc. And let us know what you think. We already do have Martin from Dansoman calling on the line. Martin, good morning to you. You have a specific question. Make sure that you reduce the volume of your TV set or however you're watching this. And then please ask Dr. Ruth Owusu-Antwi the question. Martin? Well, we have Ms. Danso.
Hello.
Please, Danso, good morning. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Kumasi.
Great. Please ask a specific question related to this subject. And I'm sure you're seeing increasing cases in senior high schools, the effect on the psyche of students.
My question is, as we have demonstration schools in the training colleges, can't the government use such demonstration schools as an example to reopening school, let's say 3 months? So when we see how far the school have integrated in their communities, then that will help other schools also to go there and see how they were able to facilitate for the...
Hello, we seem to have lost Danso.
So that when other schools also go there, then they also learn from them. And throughout, that will be integrated to the various regions for the country to reopen school for the nation. Thank you.
All right, Danso, with whether we should have experimented this dance on simulation before we grandly opened. That's a policy issue, but we'll see whether Dr. Ruth Owusu-Antwi. We have Emmanuel. Emmanuel, where are you calling from?
Please, I'm calling from Asankregwa.
Asankregwa, Western region or Western North?
Exactly.
Okay. Please, your question to Dr. Ruth Owusu-Antwi.
Mine is actually not a question, but a suggestion.
All right.
Yeah. I think that most of the parents, by this time, may not be listening to the psychologist. So if we could create a platform for her, just as we do for the president of the country, one evening, so that all the parents in the world could at least be listening to such a type of counseling, so that at least that will calm their fears down. This is the suggestion I think I want to give. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. We have Newton, who is calling from... Yendi, you're calling from... Okay, Newton, go ahead. After this, I'll let Dr. Ruth Owusu-Antwi
good morning, and
yes,
good morning to the counselor.
Thank you. Thank you. She is a specialist psychiatrist.
Okay, psychiatrist.
Yeah, not normal counselor.
My issue is with regard to the anxiety by parents. Can't we use the media? Because you could see most of the anxiety is created by the news in the media. So if they can use the medium of the media to be talking to the parents, wouldn't that calm down the parents instead of we trying to see individual parents? Because a lot of the how do you call it, parents are always listening to the media. So if the media keep on creating negativity, all the parents are going to be anxious and they'll be running to the schools to be withdrawing their children. So the media should rather be giving the right information and becoming the parents or the psychologists or others should be using the media rather to calm the parents instead of maybe trying to make it individual, which it is very difficult to achieve.
All right.
Thank you very much. That's my suggestion.
All right. Dr. Also, you would want to look at this, whether maybe we should have had a national grand plan of public education, psyching people up, and then whether we should have simulated this whole reopening thing before, because WASSCE is just around the corner. Please, your responses to our callers.
I agree totally to the comments from the caller who said that there should have been sort of a test dose with the school. I've forgotten the name he mentioned.
It says colleges of education. They have.
Sorry.
He said the colleges of education have this structure of trying to do experimental. That's what he said. Please go ahead.
Right. So we could have done a test dose to see how all of this would churn out. The universities opened not fully to some of the schools, the students, and I think they did quite well. KNUST, where I teach, students came on board quickly, did their exams, and they are back home. And we did not have eventualities like we have had in the secondary schools. We probably should have taken some cue from them before reopening our secondary schools, and probably could have done it a shorter duration. These kids are going to stay on campus for up to about 3 months, almost 3 months. And so we could have restructured the timing and all that. But again, we have passed that phase. Now the phase is they are close to having exams. What can we do just before that to avert further rise in infections or further rise in cases? And that brings in the point of what I think the second or the third caller said about getting some probably national platform to give psychosocial support to parents in the country. He said, just like the president gives an address, we are not claiming a level of importance at par with the president, but we are also pleading, and I agree with him, that if we can get some national platform that will be channeled to all television stations at specific times, maybe weekly or every day or every evening, that would reach more people. I'm not sure if somebody is in a village, they may have access to JoyNews, but if the broadcast could be further channeled to every radio station, which will be transmitted live and at the same time to all these media platforms, it should help a lot. And the policymakers could probably consider that. I think that the media houses should also consider this. And we are happy to come on board and offer our services as the Psychiatric Association of Ghana, of which I'm the vice president. I'm sure my team will be happy to come on board. We work close to the Psychological Association of Ghana as well. And I know they'll also be happy to come on board with our bigger organization, the Mental Health Authority, will be able to also help organize all of this. And so the media houses should take this challenge up and these associations will be happy to come on board.
All right, so let's get back onto the phone lines. Who do we have on the line? Again, the numbers are open. Make sure that you call us 030-2211-691. And then the second line, you have to omit the 1 and add 2. So we have 2 lines there. Make sure you call. I'll take some last round of calls. So we have Abdullah. Abdullah, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Takoradi.
Oh, Tadi, please. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Your question.
Really? No.
Hello, Abdullah.
Yes, I want to find out that Vincent made us know.
Hello, Abdullah.
Yes, Vincent made us know that the intent of the government was to provide the kids with N95 face masks. But what we are seeing isn't N95.
Okay. Let's go. Jivenu is on the line. Jivenu, where are you calling from?
This is Tijani, calling from Kintampo.
Yeah, Kintampo's Tijani. Please go ahead. Ask a question, or you want to make some...
I have a question.
Okay.
This is really something that I've been pondering. You know, the government is doing registration in the various senior high schools. And then we are also in the tertiary institutions. We don't hear anything like registration in the tertiary institutions. And we believe most of the tertiary institution people are also 18 years and above. So it speaks to some of us that it's because of this election. That is why they rush to do registration in the various SHS. But for the tertiary, most of us are also not having registration access. And we are also waiting for when it will be done. My sister is in senior high school and is in the good track, not a final yesterday. So if the students were going to school because of the WASSCE, why are Form 2s also in school? So it doesn't work. And if we say the school should be closed down, they should have a second look and do the right thing at the right time. Because I believe if a student is sick and the student is being isolated during the examination week, it doesn't mean COVID-19 cannot be transmitted. What happens to the student who is writing exams within the examination weeks or the examination period? What will happen to this child, please? Thank you very much.
No, thank you. That's Tijani from Kintampo. Stephen.
Hello.
Yes, your question. You have a question?
Hello.
Yeah, Stephen. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Kumasi.
Great.
Okay, I have a little suggestion about the reopening of a school. I have a little suggestion about I'm calling from Kumasi. Hello.
Go ahead.
Hello. I have a little suggestion about the issues. You see, the parents must exercise patience. You see, because some of these students, I'm a teacher in a senior high school. Some of these, they carried the disease from the house to the school, and some of them are not observing the safety protocols that the president gave. You see, so the parents should exercise patience. It will even allow the COVID-19 team to even identify much of the diseases among the students. So I am suggesting that the parents should exercise patience rather than wanting to take their students from their wards from various schools. That's a little suggestion. They should exercise a little bit patience for the government to do its work.
Okay. So he says he's a teacher. Now, Dr. Ruth Owusu-Entry, the second caller wanted to know what was the rationale, or psychologically, why should we have WASSCE students or WASSCE candidates alongside one track of their juniors on the compound who are not writing the exam? Psychologically, what does it mean?
Well, I don't think this is a psychological issue. It's more of the educational structure. I think the track who had to go to school had to make up for a term they had lost, and that is how come as far as students are concerned, the more they are seeing their friends and the more they have friends to be around and chat around, they are happy about it. It doesn't impact negatively on their psyche if we can ensure that they are keeping to the preventive measures. That should be another aspect that should be drummed home severely and seriously, that consistently these wards should be reminded to keep to the preventive measures. They should wear their mask, they should wash their hands frequently, they should have access to soap, liquid soap to wash their hands. They should have access to hand sanitizers. They should have access to running water. Their classrooms should be structured that there are spacing more than 1 meter between their chairs and all that. If we keep reminding them about these preventive measures, which we know are not 100% preventive of COVID, but rather reduces the risk, then we would be able to reduce the rate of spread in our schools. Yes, it is true some might have brought it from home to the school, but even if someone brought it from home to school, if we keep to these preventive measures, it would prevent the person spreading it or the person passing on the infection to their colleagues if they are keeping to the right preventive measures. Somebody also asked about the N95. Government said it was going to provide to schools, etc. I think that Ghanaians should get to the point of taking their own protection into their own hands. We should get to the point of not entirely relying on anybody to help us stay protected. If you need to buy some of these protective gadgets to supplement, please go ahead. Don't wait for anybody. Don't wait for the headmaster. Don't wait for the government. Don't wait for your head of institution. Make sure that you have taken your own protection into your own hands. If you go to work or you go to school and it has been provided, that is a plus. But don't wait for anybody to provide it for you. Make sure that you are protected yourself. This is your own life we are talking about here. Why should it be totally based or be totally dependent on somebody? Let us take this into our own hands and take our protection and our safety into our own hands and get our own safety gadgets, our own personal PPEs to the extent to which we can afford. If you are working in a high-risk area and you need an N95, please don't wait for it to be provided if you can afford. Please take your own protection, your own safety into your own hands.
That's a medical practitioner, clinician talking there. And that's the head of psychiatry. The Konfanochi Teaching Hospital also is a lecturer with the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, the vice president of the Psychiatric Association of Ghana. And look, the post no Dawson. Dr. Ruth Owusu Entry, thank you very much for helping us in the discussion this, and I wish you well for the rest of the day.
Thank you, Roland. Have a blessed day.
God bless you. God bless you.